Richard back at you. Today we're working on a 2007 Dodge dually four-wheel drive. This gentleman hauls trailers and stuff coast to coast and delivers and stuff like that. And we've done a few transmissions for this company and some of his friends, I believe. So what we're going to do is go through this thing, put some billet shafts in it, and do our thing to it and give him really good tranny. But this thing's got so much rust on it. I mean, I think when he goes fishing, he parks it in the lake. Does that sound good, Trent?
Yeah, that sounds
I think
good
it does.
to me.
Because just about everything on this thing's rusted. But the cab inside is phenomenal. Oh, way better.
Oh, yeah. Should have put some grease on that.
Now let me cover up this can. I don't want to give no identification marks here. I'll squirt her down because that thing is stuck. Actually, we had to be really careful on taking this tranny out because it had so much rust on the frame. We're going to do another video underneath of it. Well, that spun through there. That's nice. At least it come loose.
Did it come loose?
Yeah. Kinda. Get that off there even.
I was going to say, almost looks like it's stuck to the body. Oh, there it goes.
I probably got another lever back on a core and see if we can't give him a better lever. Or cut that bolt out and put a new bolt in there. That old nut's locked down pretty tight. So.
Sounded like it.
It was getting there. And we have our band adjustment here. Maybe it'll come apart pretty easy. Now this thing was just erratic shifting, stuff like that, and he just didn't want any issues when he went across country and stuff like that. So it's time. I think it's got about 400,000 on it, doesn't Trent? The truck?
Yeah, it's got a lot of miles on it.
A lot of miles.
They call it what do they call it? Hot shot.
Yeah,
That's
hot
what
shot.
they do.
Now you can see the old bushing's been pushing pretty hard on this old converter. Now we are going back with a billet flywheel to straighten that up, try to get the alignment a little bit better and try to cure that. Now this is a billet flywheel, the factory, or converter I mean, but the factory converter has lugs on it instead of a ring like this, so this is a billet converter. I don't know if it's a triple disc or a single, but we are putting a triple disc back into it.
Looks like blood.
Now you can see this ring right here that verifies that that's a 48RE tranny. Now this is a ring that keeps the converter draining back overnight, so that keeps the converter full. So get this part here.
No fluid really in the connector.
There wasn't any?
No.
Crazy, all these bolts, the heads on these bolts are just rusted like crazy.
Solid.
Now we did notice too. That the case is cracked on this overdrive housing right through here. We noticed it was cracked. So we have a brand new housing over here that come in. So we can put a new housing on it. But these are always bad about cracking right through here. Any type of driveline vibration, that front drive shaft will take them out like crazy. So will the rear. So we go through these like almost every one we do because that's almost a common problem. I'll get in there a bit.
I was going to say that sounds pretty serious.
Yeah, the bolts are about gone. It just ate the heads off of them.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to find all new bolts for this thing.
Get it.
Down there.
How he stays in shape.
Yeah, buddy. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to find in this training when we take it apart. If we're going to find a ton of wear or valve body issues, there's no telling. So I know he just had all kinds of strange things going on. Actually, he had a clutch fan code, and the tranny just totally quit shifting, and he couldn't figure out why. Took it to multiple places, couldn't figure it out. Brought it here. This was while he was out of town, but he'd have brought it here if he'd been in town. But nobody ever told him that the clutch fan codes on this Dodges can cause transmission issues. So snap ring solid goes first, and then your wave. Kind of moves the gaps like that a little bit. So being that this has tow haul and stuff, we won't be adding another clutch, and it's got a TV motor that goes on the side of the tranny. We won't be adding a clutch to the overdrive unit because what it does, it causes a harsh downshift when you come to a stop, and I mean violent. Especially when we put the shift kit in here and up the line pressure and all that type of stuff, it just creates a major problem, so we don't do that. Once we put the shift kit in there, it ups the clamping on the overdrive clutch anyway, so it makes it so much better anyway, so, but we don't like customer complaints. Now this is our direct overdrive clutch. Now we're not going to take this apart in the video right now, but we're just cut for time. But I did a video here just the other day on a gentleman brought his truck in from Tennessee that we did. You can go back to that video and check this out, where this mean spring, that 700-pound spring, 800-pound spring is in here, that you don't ever take apart at home. So there's a lot of load in here. We had to put in a press, a special tool that we physically use, press, to get these snap rings and stuff out of here. Now, this snap ring right here is really bad about breaking. A lot of times when we take it apart, this snap ring's in 4 different pieces. So this is a snap ring that we replace every unit. Now, also, since I'm not showing a build on this, I try to show what we put in these. We'll be putting a new overdrive sun gear in this tranny too. We'll be getting it apart. The sun gear really takes the beating instead of the Planet, but we'll be looking at the Planet too. Should have 6-pinion Planets back there, 5-pinion. And then we always put a new bearing backing plate kit back here too. Now we show this in a couple more videos if you haven't seen those. About this plate right here and then this new bearing.
I'll link it in our teardown video.
So this actually goes in there under a big spring that we take all apart, and you can see in our other video that we did it. So that's one thing we put in them. Piston out back here. It's your overdrive piston. Anytime this tranny goes into overdrive, this piston comes out and pushes on the overdrive clutch that was in that housing. So it's always trying to push this housing off. So this housing gasket and everything, these bolts have got to be really good shape. You have to silicone them hard, Loctite them. You got to really pay attention to those bolts in the back of this housing. Drive line vibrations, break them all the time. I like to get these apart and see if they've been stripped of all the good parts, because that's one reason why we really started doing these videos. Because we were getting trannies in here, and they were just so robbed that a lot of the customers were saying, "Oh, really, Richard?" I said, "Yeah, you know, come down and look at this. We just totally stopped tearing them down, and had the customer come down here and watch us tear them down here on the bench. But since we started doing this, they can just watch it at home, at their office, or wherever they're at, to see what the tranny looks like when we tear them down." So a lot of people enjoy that. This is the original filter here. Now we're going to be putting a high flow filter on it. It's an early design filter, but they flow a lot more fluid through them. They filter from the top and the bottom. Well, this one here just filters from the bottom. So this filter here flows a lot more. Early model Dodge pickup, 3-speed tranny, and that's what that filter come out of. So now we are also going to be putting one of these massive deep pans on this thing. We enjoy putting these on. These things work really good. They add 4 more quarts. Normally this tranny holds about 16 quarts. When we get done, it'll hold 20. It keeps all the trash off the filter. Filters last twice as long. We've done so many of them now that we physically can see in our filters when we do our 3,000 mile services on how clean they are. Now, I'll show you something here. Now, this does have an aftermarket governor pressure sensor solenoid on this, and it's got an aftermarket block. And what this does is, this solenoid here will bypass more fluid and not overcome the solenoid when you bump the pressure up in these units. Where your standard solenoid, you'll overflow it and cause tranny shifting issues. It just can't bypass enough fluid. So that's why they put these on here. This is basically a 4L60E filter that's been cut down that they use in these. Actually, I'm not sure if the nubs have been cut off on these. The first design was. I'm not sure if this one has been, but that's what that is. Now, we don't like to bump the pressure up that high on these things because it causes converter ballooning issues. It causes converter push out issues where it tries to push the thrust out of the motor, stuff like that. So truck pulling, big high horsepower stuff, yeah, you can do that and put that on there. But the longevity of the pump is a lot less because you're just bumping it up beyond its capability. Now all these this tranny here basically was Dodge's first really high pressure tranny. So it's identified in the valve body plate by a hole that you can really tell if you got a true 48 RE valve body. So I'll show you here real quick. Now when you take this valve body apart, it's going to look like this. Do you see that little hole right there? If your valve body does not have that hole, you don't have a 48 RE valve body. And it is not a high pressure valve body. A 48 RE is Dodge's high pressure valve body. See, so that's identification right there, just that little hole, because when you take it apart, you know, because these trannies have been so much swapped out now that we really don't know what we got anymore until we start physically taking them apart and seeing. So, see, this is could be aftermarket, I don't know. Most of the factory ones are black. Everyone I see here is black. Somebody could have changed it already. We change out every one we do because they wear really bad through here. And you can see this one's here already wore too. It'll cause it to hang up in park, show wrong numbers on the dash. You know, you might be in reverse and it might show drive. You know, all kinds of stuff like that. So it controls your switch right here, which the neutral safety switch plugs into the outside of the switch. So now somebody has played with it a little bit. They've left a 1-2 accumulator spring out of it. It'll firm up second gear a little bit, but the shift kit we're using will come with another spring to put in here, because when you leave this out like this, you can have harsh downshifts. See, because you got to remember, if you're firming up upshift, you can firm up downshifts and cause customer complaints. So this is why we don't leave the spring out. So we have our band anchors. You know, they do make an update one of these that's a lot bigger body. You know, if you really crank the pressure up on these things, you can bend this. We don't crank the pressure up that high unless we are really building a high horsepower one, which we actually got one coming up. The customer brought in yesterday. It makes 1,200 horsepower. It's a Dodge. I think he said 2,000 foot-pounds of torque. So that's coming up that we're going to be doing a teardown on.
Don't miss that.
Yeah. So we have our intermediate band here. We have our big old reverse double wrap band here. This band, reverse band, is just phenomenal. I mean, they very seldom wear. I mean, I don't know how you just don't see them. So we always try to keep one here to make sure that the band is good. We always update our intermediate band to the early 3-speed band. Just a lot more material on the band. We're actually on this one here too. We're going with a billet input shaft. It's gonna be really nice. So we're doing a lot of nice stuff to this thing. But it's one of them ones you want to look at close because somebody's been into it. So, just because we have a 48 RE stator don't mean we have a 48 RE pump body. Because if they put a gas pump body in this thing, then we have a very weak transmission. So, now we talked about how we have a high-speed pump, we have a low-speed pump, and a Dodge diesel is a low-speed pump. It has to have big gears, pump a lot of fluid at no RPM. Where a gasoline pump, it's a lot smaller because it pumps fluid at higher RPM. So if you put a gas pump in or a diesel, it just don't pump enough fluid at the low RPM that the diesel operates at. So we just have stock stainless rings here. We'll be putting high pressure rings in here. Kind of give you an idea what they look like. You can't buy these rings separately. I haven't found them anywhere, so we just buy, when we get the kits, they're in every one of them. I got lucky the other day and the kit come with 2 sets. I was excited. I don't ever get nothing for free. Now this does have a 48 RE pump body. Got the big gears, got the big diesel anchors. You can tell the gas too, the gears, the teeth on these are a lot smaller, and the anchors on the gear that locks into the converter are a lot smaller too. I mean, they're half that size. So you just got to be really careful and look at your pump. And we got our high reverse clutch here. I'm noticing a lot of bushing wear in this thing. You can tell he tows heavy weight. You can just tell the bushings are just hammered on this thing. A lot of footprint, hard push on it, you know what I mean? Type deal. So, got the 5 clutches in there. We're going to add one more and give him 6. So that'll help third gear out quite a bit in reverse. Now, of course, we just have our stock rings here. So we're putting a high pressure ring here too.
Right here.
Right there? Okay.
Green one.
Yeah, it should be that green one right there, and get rid of this metal one. Oh. Got your forward clutch here. Yeah, it's starting to.
Feel a little cooked.
Yeah, and I can't tell. It looks like to me that since the training's been built before, you know, it's got a stock steel,
Coated
and then it's
steel.
got one coated steel in the middle. And I noticed the high clutch was that way too. Then it goes back to the standard. So 4 clutches, plenty in forward on these. Even in a 1200 horsepower, all they got 4 forward clutches. And actually holds, it's hard to believe. But. Now, you can go back here, we have a heavy duty band that they put in there. It's a stock band. This is what it looks like. And this is what we're going for. So this band here to me is 10 times better than a stock looking band. So kind of starting to get excited a little bit. I don't see that the tranny's been robbed. And this little 3-tab washer. Now they make 3 different ones of these, 3 different thicknesses when you go to set clearances and stuff. Get that out there. Now we do have a 6-pinion planet. Just make sure there ain't any pitting or anything like that. Always look at your washers. He's going to have bad washers. I mean, just because of the towing he's got, the prints on the washer is going to be really hard. So it'll get all brand new washers. We have every washer, and there's 10 bags over here. They didn't send me a washer kit, so they individually sent me individual washers, and there's a washer in each bag. So, but anyway, this is your forward and your intermediate sun gear. And these always have wear every time we look at them because of the print, the pattern, footprint that's being on them so heavy. You want to look at both sides. It's hard to look in here. We have to take it out apart and look at it. But here's a brand new one that's going in it. We put in every one of them. So we look at our planet. This will set in here like this with the shell on top of it and stuff like that. But these gears are really hard. They're actually harder than this, but that's why we replaced every one of these. We see more of the wear on the sun gear. Now if you look at this here, we got 6-pinion planet rear, and you can just see that washer's just been obliterated. Now, here's a brand new washer that'll be going in there, like that. But if you look at this washer here, tell me this brass, it takes an amazing amount of load with a little bit of oil on it. Because if you look at this washer, this thing has got these pins embedded in it. This indention here is physically embedded into that washer. That's how hard it's sitting there pushing on that washer.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Isn't that crazy? Here's a new one. But you can feel that. That's a big old lip where it's been pushing down on there. And what's crazy, you get down in here to this bottom one too, same way. Now look at this. They kind of jicked the man here when they built this tranny. Huh. This is why I love tearing them down, because I can catch anything. If you notice here, this tranny should have had 2 wide washers. And actually it should have had the main washers in the back here, because this is the washer that takes all the load on getting the vehicle moving. So it's pushing back on it really hard, and then when it goes to second gear, it pushes on this washer. Well, they had the wide washer here, the little narrow washer down here, and you can see the difference in them. See, if I'd have done it, and I would have put a wide one here, and then this one here. See, but that ain't how it goes. It goes wide on every one of these.
Right.
See, that's how that goes.
Nice.
Isn't that crazy? But
Nice.
hey, what your stuff you get into.
Oh, yeah.
But at least it's got all steel diesel planets and stuff like that. You know, nothing looks messed up in that respect.
It's going to be a decent one to build.
Yeah, I enjoy them. You always want to look for wear in here, because what happens is if you get any cooler line, trash your cooler line, or trash coming out of your converter, it comes back in and hits this area right here as cooler line lubrication oil. And that's what it takes out first. It takes out this, it takes out your support right back here, and stuff like that. So you got to look for any type of wear there. And then your sprag runs right here too, see? So you got to look for any chatter marks or anything like that. So, of course, we have our big old mammoth reverse band here. I mean, these things just don't wear. I mean, they just live
Brand new.
forever, yeah. I mean, they come in 400,000 miles and still look brand new. They're just so massive that, you know, so. This is another piece that we replace every time. We actually come in here and enlarge this hole right here to get more oil pressure up on this piece here because it runs on there. See, and we want to really flood this with a lot of oil. See, and we just up that hole just a little bit more to get a little bit more volume on there, on the new one that we put back in. So we'll clean it up a little bit more. Look at all the parts and see what everything looks like, and put all the good stuff back in it. Billet converter, triple disc, billet input shaft, all new parts. So if y'all need anything, give us a holler at Precision Transmissions. Y'all have a wonderful day.